Williams-Sonoma is across all your brands. This is like one of the most canonically human experiences. You go into one of the stores, it's very personal. How did you think about recreating that experience using agents?
Yeah, it's a great question, Madhav. Like you mentioned, let me tell you a little bit about Olive first, just for context. So Olive is our Williams-Sonoma agent, and of course, she can help with customer service issues, simple ones, complex ones. But what's really exciting is that, we've been able to sort of capture a lot of the essence of what the brand's about, which is helping with life moments, helping with entertaining, helping with planning, helping with cooking, helping with a lot of these, like kind of life moments that center around what the brand is great at. And, as we started to think about what does agentic AI look like for the Williams-Sonoma brand, what we found and what was effective for us is that, even though we were talking about AI, we didn't start with the AI. We actually didn't even start with the data. We started with the humans. We asked ourselves, what does the optimal human experience look like for these different scenarios? And I'm blessed to work at a company where I'm surrounded by experts in their space. We've got, test kitchen chefs. We have merchants that understand entertaining. We've got interior designers with our furniture brands. We've got all these different experts. And before we even got into the AI, before we even got into the data, I and my team just sort of sat down and just picked their brain. How do you do this? When a customer asks this question, how do you think about this? How do you think about different types of customers and personas? And that was just a data goldmine. And that's where a lot of the sort of light bulbs popped about, okay, this is what we can do, is try to figure out how do we sort of encapsulate these amazing experts and leverage the AI. And then we moved to the data, right? We took some of these kind of concepts and ideas and we mined and mined and mined our data. We've got years and years of great first-party data, customer service engagements, store engagements, transactional data, recipe data, expert data, test kitchen data, all these different sort of sources of great data. And then we moved to the AI. And then we started to sort of take this and iterate and test into these experiences. We sort of socialized it internally. We shared it back with those experts. We said, pretend this is a customer. Let's see how this agent does. And we iterated and fine-tuned. And ultimately, what was born was Olive, which was something that we were very proud of, and we've continued to build on her capabilities. But we found that if you start with the human and not with the AI and not even the data, you can end up really creating some pretty compelling experiences that are grounded in the way that people like to engage with people.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience. And we talk a lot about AI use cases, right? We're seeing an incredible explosion of coding use cases, engineering use cases. We see customers using these agents internally to drive productivity for their employees. We see process optimization. There's a lot of very impactful use cases that are out there today. But this one is facing your end customer.
Yep.
Like, that is a high bar.
Yep.
It's got to be an agent that you really trust to be out there to have these interactions. So putting something like that out there, you lined out the steps, drive the outcome, figure out the data. But
right.
What have you learned along the way? Like, what's worked, what's not worked? What's been something that you've really taken from this journey?
Yeah, I think we've had to break some of the conventional thinking in e-commerce and digital experiences. I think historically, e-commerce has been built for transactional efficiency, right? You think about search, shop, cart, checkout. The metrics are all about how do I drive conversion and how do I do it as quickly as possible, right? Amazon has built a massive business on this concept. And even when you look at the LLMs sometimes, like, they're very quick to try to give you an answer. And I think what we found is that there's a lot of, especially when you talk about discovery, there's a lot of value in the experience, in the back and forth, in the exploration. And if you drive that engagement and you're not so quick to jump to, well, here's some products, here's something to go buy, but let's explore this, right? And again, this sort of started with the human piece, which is, okay, we sort of probed some of our best sales associates and customer service agents and folks and said, like, sometimes the best response to a question is another question. And what we found is that if you can kind of engage people and drive engagement in the exploration, in the discovery, it can drive a tremendous amount of value, right? So, the engagement is the conversion in some cases, and we've seen with sort of embracing this approach and guiding customers and letting them explore whether it's product, again, or entertaining, or some of the things that Olive can do, or some of the things that we do with, our other brands in Williams-Sonoma Inc., Pottery Barn, West Elm, around helping customers with, interior design and some of these other areas. We've just seen the conversion results follow extremely strongly, like multiples from a conversion value when you can engage customers in that experience.
Yeah, and in some ways that is replicating what you do in the store, which
That's
is
right.
a deeply engaging experience versus the transaction. Yeah, that's fascinating. So last question, we have a couple of minutes here.
Sure.
There's been things that work, things that don't work. You are kind of at the forefront of these agentic systems. You've done everything from building them, testing them, scaling them, operating them. You're doing all of these things. So would love, I think everyone here would appreciate, where do you think the state of the art is? What's working, what's not working, and what are you really excited about going forward?
Yeah, I'll start with the sort of the positive side, the things that are working. And again, to kind of pick up on the theme that I shared earlier, historically e-commerce is built around sort of transactional efficiency. And even if you think about the previous generations of AI and machine learning, it's things like product recommendations, it's things like algorithmic scoring, it's things like fraud protection, it's things like customer segmentation, right? So even when you're talking about personalization, you're talking about segment-based personalization. It's like putting people into buckets and then building experience around those buckets. And what's really exciting about this latest generation of agentic tech is that it's, when you say personalization, it's true personalization. It's
right.
true, like one-to-one, like let me understand your exact scenario, your exact issue, and let me sort of be able to package up all the expertise that we have, all the data that we have, all the capabilities that we have to create this excellent experience. I don't think the industry has really delivered on that yet. I think we're still, as much as I think we're very proud of what we built and what we've done, I think we're in the early innings. I think the best is yet to come. So I'm very excited about the potential of us in the industry, and certainly with Williams-Sonoma, the way that we're thinking about it is almost reinventing digital commerce and bringing the human back into shopping and bringing the discovery back into shopping. And I'll sort of segue to the second part of your question, which is, what's not working, and what we've learned is chat is great for a lot of things. It can be pretty good for customer service. It can be pretty good for Q&A and quick questions. It's pretty god-awful for shopping. I don't know if you've ever actually tried to follow the entire shopping experience, try to chat your way to a purchase, unless you're buying something that's highly commoditized. Many of us have sort of started, and the industry has started in this sort of chat modal, but I think the future and where everyone's going and where we're going certainly is, where we're focused is really thinking about these multimodal experiences and thinking about where agents start to break the bounding box of chat windows and start to think about immersive visual experiences, thinking about the intersection of voice. And I think that's really where that's where we're focused, right? So when you think about, I'll segue from the Williams-Sonoma brand, to another one of our brands is Pottery Barn or West Elm, which really focus primarily with interior decorating and furniture. If you're decorating, it's inherently this very visual medium, right? Like you can't text your way. Like, what do you want to? I don't know. I want a nice looking thing, right? Like I need to see it, right? And agents can do this, right? Like you talk about this intersection of large language models, large image models built on top of proprietary data with these guided experiences. Like you can really help people guide and visualize their way into these very complex things. And what's really exciting, I think, about how we're positioned and where I'm very bullish about it is, we all have access to the same models, but, what really differentiates and what we're seeing where we're able to unlock value is our massive amounts of sort of first-party data, right? And being able to sort of activate that. So everything from, we talked about Olive, like our test kitchen data, to the transactional data, to, all this data that we have around that fuel a lot of the content that we build and even the training content internally and all that, massively impactful. Second is, our multi-channel nature of our business. We've got, digital and e-commerce. but we've also got stores, we've got, customer service agents, but we also have an in-home business, right? So, little known, fact about Williams-Sonoma is, half of our retail sales from a revenue perspective comes from going into customers' homes and helping them with their interior design. And by the way, it's free. So if you ever want to take us up on it, if you're moving or redecorating, just sign up. We'll help you for free. You don't have to pay an expensive interior designer. We'll do it for free. I mean, you'll buy some stuff, but the service is free. But you sort of start to think about where all these things intersect and how you can activate these experiences. And it's not just about digital. It's about putting this tech in the hands of an interior designer. It's about helping get into customers' homes. It's about understanding kind of their sort of space and being able to help them visualize it. And you start to think about the sort of multi-channel connection. And you got sort of this proprietary data, you got this internal expertise I talked about, you talk about this sort of channel excellence, and then for us, we're also very highly vertically integrated, so, the vast majority of what we sell is designed, built in-house. We source it, we manufacture it, we transport it all over the world. We handle the delivery, we handle the merchandising and marketing, every single part of that experience, right? So AI can start to touch and really connect the dots across all of it, because we've got a line of sight into the entire experience. So I'm very bullish about how all this is going to come together for us. I'm very excited. I think, what we've been able to do in partnership with Madhav, you and your team at Salesforce, and what we bit with Olive on the kind of consumer-facing side, what we've seen internally in terms of agentic tech, how you kind of connect it with data and other types of both technology capabilities and experience. It's super exciting. I think we're very early, and I think the best is yet to come.